What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty here with another episode of Steelers Touchdown Under. Today we're talking free agents. Free agents is a two-part series video. I'm going to try and keep them pretty short and sweet for both of them. But we're doing free agents. Now, a lot of other channels talking about this. I've been having issues with I swapped to a new streaming platform, and then the new one wasn't very good. So now I'm on my third streaming platform in about 4 or 5 weeks. But this one's looking really, really good. So excited to be using it in the first video I'm doing on that platform today. Now, Steelers have 26 free agents of guys that actually make a key difference this offseason, right? On offense, we've got Mike Williams, James Daniels, Justin Fields, Nate Herbig, Russell Wilson, Najee Harris, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, Kyle Allen. You've got Miko Pruitt, Max Sharping, Calvin Anderson, Ben Skronik, Dan Moore Jr., Ryan McCollum, and Jalen Warren is technically an exclusive rights free agent. But, you'd expect him to be back. And the Steelers can tender him an offer. He's a lot more likely to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So, on the defense, they've got Dante Jackson, Alandon Roberts, DeMonte Casey, Sutton, Matakevich, James Pierre, CJ Henderson, Isaiah Loudermilk, Jeremiah Moon, and Gilbert, the cornerback, are all the free agents that are available. There's 26 free agents. What does that look like for the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of how you can bring those guys back? Because that's a lot of guys, right? When you've got your 53-man roster, we're talking almost 50% of said roster. That's a lot of guys you've got to try and afford. And you've still got a bunch of guys on long-term and expensive contracts. So if we look at this is a big list that's in front of you right now. And I'm going to make that hopefully a little bit easier for everyone to see. But they're a big list the situation that you've got there. Now, when you look at the Steelers as well, the Steelers do have cap space of $40 million. That's right, $40 million. But there's a heap of guys that you can go and make decisions about. And that's what I wanted to really focus on in this part of the series, in terms of the cut candidates, who you're going to bring into the mix. Because that's going to be really important for the Steelers, determining what their roster looks like in 2025, because who you're going to get in free agent, who are you going to get out there from a perspective of the draft, how are you going to fill those gaps in your roster across offense and defense. So when you look at this list, the fifth guy down on the list, the sixth guy on the list, I should say, is Preston Smith. He will likely be cut, even if you bring him back, but we didn't really see anything from him. You cut him, you save yourself $13.4 million straight out of the gate, no dead cap hit. Lario, you can get rid of as well. Lario will save you $7 million. He'll have a dead cap hit of $3.5 million. Seumalo is another player who I expect them to potentially. He's going to be an interesting one. We'll see. We'll get to him. But if you cut him, you get dead cap hit of 2.3, and then you save yourself 7.8. Holcomb, if you cut, it's a $1.64 million dead cap hit and a $6 million saving. Then you've got Patterson, who's a $950K dead cap hit, $2.8 million saving. Adams is Montravis Adams, $875K dead cap hit, and he's a saving of $2.25 million. That was the case last year, and the year before, you saw them bring him back. And then DeMarvin Leal, $238K dead cap, $1.4 million saving. Now, if you go through all those players I've just listed out, the 7 players, your full dead cap number is only about approximately, with a couple of bit of rounding, $7.6 million. But you can get savings of $40.75 million, right? Now, if you do that, suddenly you've got $80 million. Now, the cap is expected will be anywhere over $240 million. I think we're looking at above 250 when they set that number shortly. That the Steelers, they have $80 million there is going to be very helpful for the way this team wants to put together. You do have to go pay a quarterback, but if you can get Fields for like $15 million, then you've got $15 million or so to spend. Maybe you go out and get the left tackle if Broderick's going to stay on the right, but you're probably shifting Broderick, and go out and get a really, really good guard to solidify the O-line better than Seumalo, or you can go get a good cornerback, or you can go get a wide receiver. You've got options. Like $80 million is pretty sweet. You can also, there's restructures. I've not gone into the restructures. I'm just focusing for the purposes of this video on the cut side of things. So I've listed the 7 players there. Now, Preston Smith, I think you've got to cut, right? So I think we're gonna play a game called buy, steal, or sell. But the difference is when I say steal, they're gonna remain a stealer. Sell is that we could see either one. Buy is goodbye, forget about it, and all the best of luck in the rest of your career and your life. Right, let's go. Preston Smith, bye bye, Preston Smith. That makes too much sense. Lario, I'm going buy. Thank you very much, Lario, for what you've done for the Steelers, but quite honestly, we can't continue to pay that amount of money. Now, yes, the cost of replacing is high, but this is a good interior defensive line draft. You can move Benton outside. You can fill that gap in the middle. You can get guys cheaper there. I just think you can do that. I know Hargrave's a free agent. I've seen people linking in there. You can do that part of things. Holcomb, I think, is a cross between a sell and a steal. So sell as in, he could move on, he could stay, and he's a stealer. I actually think, look, if Holcomb can get back to where he was playing, he's going to be cheap. But right now, he's a bit expensive, really, for a guy that we didn't get to see play. I reckon they cut him and try and bring him back on a cheaper deal. That's what I'd be doing if I were Omar Khan. I'd hate that if I was Holcomb. I totally get that. But that might be the best scenario. The Steelers did stick by him this year as well. Patterson showed some frustration in the locker room, and I can understand where he's coming from. He was brought in, but only to be kick returner. Arthur Smith didn't even use him in the playoff game. I don't think Patterson's back. I really don't. I think that was a good move with the new kickoff rule and what have you, but I don't see Patterson back in 2025. He's a bye-bye, Patterson. Best of luck. Adams, as much as I'm a push or a sell on this one, sell me on why he needs to remain a Steeler, I do think Montrevious Adams is probably someone that stays on the roster. I think if you need the money, it's going to get you over the line with another player, I think you go and do it. I think he's played well at times. I still don't think he's what the Steelers need at the nose tackle position. I don't think he's what they need on the outside either. He's much more of a 4-3 inside guy rather than a 3-4 guy. I'm going to be very hard to ever change that opinion of it. So I think Adams, we'll see sell that or push if you like, in that regard. And then with DeMarvin Leal, look, 238K for a guy like Leal with his experience, I think you keep him. I think the versatility there, particularly if you're going to move on Adams and Lario, you got to keep someone in that mix. I think you keep Leal, finish out this year, especially with Loudermilk possibly out as well, moving on. I think Leal, you probably keep him. You can't really, on $1.4 million saving and vet minimums and stuff like that, you're really not going to save a stack on him. But if you bring back Loudermilk, then that comes into question. So if you look at that, and the guys that I think will still be sitting on the roster with Samalu and potentially Holcomb and Adams, that is kind of interesting in that you're only going to save $25 million, but $25 million can go a long way in this offseason as well. That gets you to the 65, that's over $65 million in cap space that the Steelers would have in 2025. And that, as I say, that's going to be a decent amount of money that we could see from the Steelers. I will do a future video coming up on who I think and this is the cut list, right? Then talking about the free agents that you can keep and not keep. Look, I do think there are some simple restructures and stuff that you can do. We'll do a video on that coming up as well. But I want to give you a sense of where my head was thinking on not only the cap space that's available, but the space that the Steelers can make, the room they can make purely from simple cuts. And Ciamalo as well. Look, ultimately, the cap number for him, $10 million this year, that's not crazy expensive for a starting guard. I just think if you cut him with $7 million and then you brought in one of the top guards in the league at for an additional $8 million on top at $15 million, you're probably pretty happy with that result. Right, so I think that's the difference. And I'll pull up some of the off contract guards. Zach Martin and Brandon Sheff are pretty old. No, I know James Daniels is next on the list as well. Like maybe bring back Daniels instead, who's younger, right? You pay him $12 million a year rather than the 8 that he's on right now on average, and you move Simo on. That could be really helpful. Guys like Will Hernandez could be out there as well. Cody Whitehead, Dalton Reisner, Tevin Jenkins, even. Like, you're not going to necessarily get the best guy, but you're going to be able to afford guys that, like, last year would have been a pipe dream. So I think that there's some options there for the Steelers looking at the guard position. Likewise, when you're saving that amount of money, you look at the cornerbacks that are off contract. Chachavius Ward, Carlton Davis, DJ Reed, who's been rumored to the Steelers. They're all guys that are like all 29, so experienced, but they're not in their 30s. A guy like a Jeff Okuda you can afford. You can afford to bring back Dante Jackson. Do you go and bring in Tre'Davious White? I mean, I'd love to see Tre'Davious White in a Steelers uniform. Particularly if he was like your number 2 next to Joey Porter. That could get really, really good. So there's real options. And then when you think about wide receiver as well, a T. Higgins, like he made $21 million this year. You got a lot more way of affording that if you can save $25 million here. You can pay him. These cuts, you can pay T. Higgins. I'm really keen on the Steelers with Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen. I've been a Keenan Allen fan for years. I think if you could bring him to the Steelers, I think a veteran leadership possession receiver, he's going to do more than Mike Williams did last year. They're real options, and that's why I really wanted to focus on where the Steelers can find more savings in their roster, which they're going to need, as I said in a future video we're going to do around retaining some of their players. But I'm Matty P. As always, go Steelers.